Ready, Irma.
Okay, hi everyone. And we're going to get going with our meeting for today, the last one of this year. Glad that you could all make it. And we'll go forward with the next slide, please. Where we're going to introduce ourselves. I'm Irma Torres, career world language educator at the K through 12 level, and recently retired about a year ago now from Oakland Schools.
Hi all, I'm Emily Spinelli. I'm the retired executive director of the American Association of Teachers of Spanish and Portuguese, and also retired from the University of Michigan at Dearborn, where I taught Spanish and trained world language teachers.
Hi all, I'm Kelly Alvarez. I'm the lead for the Seal of Bioliteracy for Michigan. Also the English learner consultant for MD.
And hello everyone, I'm Jennifer Howe. I'm the Heritage and World Languages Consultant at Oakland Schools Intermediate School District.
So I think we're all pretty well aware of the logistical considerations, and Kelly pointed out that she would be recording this session for you. So just to review, if you'll keep yourself muted unless you're going to actually be recognized to ask a question or make a comment. And your comments, if you could kindly use the chat box for that. And if you do choose to speak, please make sure that we can see your beautiful faces. Thank you. So on the agenda for today, we have 5 items. I think we may be switching the numbers a little bit depending on, no, are we okay with it, Kelly, as is? Okay, then once we get past the few slides that I will talk about, we'll go into a little bit of a review of the SEAL organization and some of the key items regarding the Seal of Biliteracy. And then we'll talk a little bit about the flexibility for assessments for this school year. And we'll review a few of the approved assessments so you know where to go if you're trying to figure out what assessments to use. And later on, we'll talk a little bit about what colleges and universities are doing to recognize the Seal of Biliteracy. And finally, we'll have a celebration about how districts are using the seal and how they are recognizing the seal for their students. If you have not joined the Michigan World Languages Consortium, we invite you to do so, and you'll find the link for this together with all the other links in the note catcher, which I think Kelly and Jennifer have already put into the chat. So you don't have to worry about doing that right now. If you have the note catcher, you'll find all of that information. The Michigan World Languages Consortium, we started at Oakland Schools as a resource for all world language teachers in the state of Michigan. And it's a kind of a networking, sharing of resources site that Jennifer hosts 3 times a year. So we invite you to do that if you're not already on the listserv. And next, also in the note catcher, you will find links to signing up for the MDE Seal of Biliteracy listserv together with the newsletter, pardon me. And again, they are in the note catcher. If you sign up for the listserv, you'll get all kinds of communications regarding webinars and other related materials. And of course, the newsletter is also a good way to keep up to date with what's going on with the state seal. All right, for each year that we've been in existence, we have developed, the council develops goals for the year. And what you see here are our goals for this school year, 21-22. We would like to get to at least 2,000 seals approved across the state. And we're hoping that we will increase the numbers of LEAs who are participating. I think we've got a nice beginning, but we would love to see as many districts as possible involved with the seal. And we'd also like to see larger district participation. We know large districts like Detroit, DPSCD is already on board, and many of the districts in Oakland County are on board. And but we'd like to see larger districts such as maybe Grand Rapids and so on and so forth also come on board with us for the seal efforts. In this slide, just want to share with you a little bit about the growth of the seal since its inception. It was rolled out in January of 2018, and we had some early adopters even then. As you can see, we had in that short period of 7-8 months, we had 33 districts who participated, and 246 seals were awarded in 21 languages. That was a really nice beginning for us. As you look at 2018-19, you see the tremendous growth, more than double in the terms of the seal participants, as well as the number of seals awarded. And I especially like to look at that last column because you can see that we more than doubled again the languages that were assessed. 1920 follows a very similar pattern, even though we had gotten into the pandemic at that point. And certainly by 2021, we were in the midst of the pandemic, but you can see that our numbers didn't suffer too terribly. We still had over 70 participating districts, a small decrease really in the number of seals awarded, and maintained the high number of languages assessed. And so far for 21-22, you see that our numbers are lower there, but typically districts seem to become more active in the spring, starting actually February, March is a peak time when districts will begin to assess. And so by the time we get to June, our numbers hopefully will surpass what we had for 2021. So with this, I'm now going to pass the meeting over to Emily Spinelli, who's going to talk about the seal and the council.
Hi again. I think that many of you understand some of this, but we do like to review what the seal is all about. So some of the bulleted and the highlights of it. The Michigan Seal of Bioliteracy was created to recognize high school graduates who exhibit language proficiency in English and at least one additional world language. So some students are able to get more than one seal because they speak more than English and another language. The seal can be awarded to any student who's received a high school diploma or a certificate of completion or the equivalency certificate, and who has demonstrated, and this is the important part, intermediate high proficiency on acceptable approved world language assessments. The seal is created in Michigan and in the other states to encourage students to study world languages and to embrace their native or heritage language as well. It will provide employers with a way to identify individuals who have strong language proficiency. And the seal may serve as an additional school tool for colleges and universities to recognize applicants and their language ability for admission and possible placement. So there are two important criteria. First of all, that the seal recipients meet all graduation requirements and that they demonstrate intermediate high proficiency on an approved world language assessment. So who takes care of the seal? Who administers it? It says that Michigan is one of 43 states, and yesterday I just got an announcement that we're at 44. Wyoming just approved. So there are now 44 states plus the District of Columbia that has approved the seal for high school graduates. The seal was approved by the Michigan Department of Ed in January of 2018, as Irma mentioned before. And it's administered by the MDE as well. And you know well, Kelly Alvarez, who's the English language consultant, English learner consultant at MDE, is the lead person for the seal. And there is a link if you have questions regarding, so if you need to contact someone. The Seal of Biliteracy has a council, and that council is responsible for establishing policy for the implementation and for the granting of the seal, and as well as promoting its benefits. So it's composed of some 30 volunteer members who represent world language programs, English language learner programs, K-12 language faculty, post-secondary language faculty, administrators, counselors, community and business leaders. So it's a broad range of people who serve on the council. And it meets for all-day sessions, some 4 times a year. During COVID, we met completely online. And we review current policies and procedures, and then we establish new guidelines for granting the seal as needed. There are 3 standing committees that form part of the Biliteracy Council. There's a Colleges and Careers Committee that is responsible for what colleges do with people who are admitted that have the seal. There's an Outreach Committee that's basically responsible for promoting the seal. And then there's a Toolkit Committee, and we establish brochures and other documents that help people use the seal and apply for admission. And in addition, sometimes we appoint additional task forces to deal with a specific problem or policy or issue. There's a Seal of Biliteracy website, and there are quite a few things that can be found there. There's the link if you're not familiar with it. There are brochures that talk about the seal, and they're available in English as well as several other languages. There's a series of frequently asked questions that may help you understand certain aspects of it. There's a policy document that explains how to apply for the seal and other items about it. There's a list of the approved assessments. And then there's a new document for colleges and universities so that we hope that more colleges and universities will take advantage of seal recipients. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Kelly Alvarez, who's going to talk about seal flexibility.
So this is very similar flexibility that we've had now since 2020. Really, what is unique about the flexibility is really number one. We've extended the window, and we really want to make sure that if students want to get the seal, we want them to get the seal. So, if they were 2020 graduates, they could still apply into 2021, come back, take the test, whatever. Same thing with 2021, could do it at 2022, and 2022 graduates can have an extra year if they want to get their assessments or show how they are proficient in the language. They have up to an extra year to finish that. So that's, we want to recognize the students that have the proficiency. And so we're trying to do that. We're still, the remote proctor options are a flexibility, but I feel like those are going to, stay forever at this point. And so definitely taking advantage of the remote proctor options for any of the assessments is still a thing you can do. So that's also available. And then we have the 2 domains. So the OPI WPT combo or WorldSpeak, which is now the stamp WS. Those are the 2 domain assessments. Those are now part of the permanent policy, even though it's not published to our website, but the language was shared with you last year. And so those 2 domain assessments are still on the flexibility paper, but they are actually permanent. And then because the AP and the IB assessments are proceeding as normal this year, this particular flexibility isn't necessary. All the students that are going through this year will just take their regular assessments. So, okay, thank you for the clarification. So Aziz from Avant Assessment, looks like they have confirmed that the remote proctor option will continue, at least from Avant. Thank you for that. Okay, and then this was the language that I was talking about that was shared last year in this same meeting that will be added to the policy document when it's ready to be published. And that is, so let me just clarify what that is. So you can't use a 2-domain assessment when there's a 4-skill or 4-domain assessment available. So let's say Spanish, French, those assessments that there are prolific assessments of 4-domain assessments out there, you need to use those because we want to test all the domains that are available. But in the case of certain languages that are less commonly assessed in the United States, like Urdu or Bengali or other assessments that have a 2-domain assessment, but not a 4-domain assessment, you can use like the WorldSpeak or the Stamp WS or the OPI, the OPIC with the WPT combo for that. So the 2-domain assessments will be sufficient to meet the expectations. Yes, correct. Every, when they take these domains and the assessed domains, they must receive an intermediate high in listening, speaking, reading, and writing, or the domains assessed, or the domains utilized by the language. So there are some domains that, some languages that are not written, so writing and reading wouldn't be assessed, but yes. Okay, and then this is our list of approved assessments. We have been working through this list and double checking some of these assessments. We have a really nice protocol that we go through now when we review assessments. And we're happy to announce that Swahili, Yoruba are available. Remind me which of the vendors that is.
It's Avant, and it's available in 3 domains, the 3S.
Excellent, thank you. And then we have Latin and ASL coming in the fall, which the ASL they've been talking about for some time. So I'm excited to see that. All right. And with that, I'll pass it over to Jennifer.
Hello again, everyone. So as Emily mentioned in her section, one of the tasks and missions of the task force is to communicate with colleges and universities and encourage them to really recognize students' seal of biliteracy. I am here to say so far that Central Michigan is leading the way in granting students credit for coming in with the seal of biliteracy. Madonna actually recognizes 2 proficiency levels below the seal of biliteracy, novice high and intermediate mid, for credit on the stamp test. And then we have also heard that Grand Valley State University is currently awarding credit, but I have not found that information in policy yet. So with any information as far as colleges go, I'm sure you all would also recommend to your students that they talk with their admissions advisor and their program advisor and make sure that what is on the website currently will be accepted for their graduating class. But in addition to, we hope more colleges and universities will recognize the seal. Something that students often ask is, can I get AP credit? Can I get IB credit? Can I get credit for any type of prior learning experience? So this month, March of 2022, I did a little bit of research, and both of these links that I'm going to share are also going to be, they're also in the note catcher, so you can open them now or save them now, or you can wait and grab them from the note catcher later. The first link takes you to a Google Doc that is organized alphabetically. it's popping up here by college, and it will let you know if the college accepts AP, IB, CELA, Bioliteracy, or the CLEP exams. It will give you a link to the webpage where that information was found. And if there are any notes that I found, some colleges will only grant credit for Spanish or for language programs that they have, then I have put those on the side there. And then the second link that I shared is a link to, if you or your students, or I don't know if we have any college and university professors here today, if your institution changes or you find out information about more universities hopefully jumping on the bandwagon, this is just a form that you can fill out with the same type of information so that I can keep this Google document continuously updated. And then the most exciting part of our presentation today, when we get back there, is that we have some of you, some guests who are going to share with us how you might celebrate students who have earned the seal of Biliteracy. We do have some ideas here on the slide, but I don't want to steal the show from anyone. So I believe, and I apologize, Kim and Laura, I just met you today other than email. Kim Charland and Laura Crowder, hopefully I said your names right, are going to start us off by telling us about what they do in Utica schools.
Okay, I can go ahead and start unless you want to, Kim. I think Kim may have had to step away, not sure. But we actually, at Utica Schools, we have two things going on. We actually started a seal of global language. I want to say we started this maybe a year or two before the state of Michigan started the seal of biliteracy. So we kind of kept going with that, as well as offering the Michigan seal. So for our students, they can take the they can get the UCS seal of global language by taking the same assessments. The criteria is just a little bit different, but the students get a cord for that. And again, they're listed on the program, the graduation program, and they really do get excited about that. And then a gold seal on their diploma. And then we do have many of our students that also qualify for the Michigan Seal of Biliteracy as well. So that's just an extra bonus. And we really do not do anything additional. They're getting the typical, they get the seal that the state offers in that, but they still get really excited about it. So yeah, I was excited last year because adding the additional languages with the just the two domains, we were able to pick up a lot more of our EL students. So it's been great. Yeah. I don't know if anybody has any questions, but
What color of the boards do you use?
we use gold. We use gold. Yep. And I don't know how it was decided upon that, but gold is the color.
Oh, Laura,
Yeah.
they will get the UCS seal of biliteracy and the state of Michigan seal.
Yes. And
which one on the diploma? Because my daughter is junior and Dearborn Public School, which also have their own seal of biliteracy.
Okay.
And
sure.
She was asking me because she wants to get both. One would be on her diploma, and I told her I don't know.
Yeah, we actually put ours on the diploma, and we find out, and I think a lot of it has to do with the timing and probably the fact that we had started this prior to that. So ours goes on the diploma, yes.
Okay.
And it's interesting because our criteria is almost, I don't want to say opposite, but we have a stricter criteria for qualifying to be a candidate. But then our cut score for the Apple and the WPT and that is a little bit lower. So we have a higher with our WIDA score or our SAT in that. We're not just going by the GPA. So, but then our world language piece is a little bit lower.
Okay,
So it does capture, you know, we are kind of capturing two different audiences, but then there's an overflow, if that makes any sense.
I have another question. Well, what do you do with the certificates? Like, do you print them for them, or what happens for the Michigan?
I'm
Yes,
back,
we do.
Laura. Sorry.
Yep. No,
I'm back.
that's okay. That's okay. And Kelly was asking about the certificates for the state of Michigan seal. Do we print those for them, don't we?
Yep. So what we do is we put a package together for each kit. So we print out the letter from the state of Michigan, we print out the certificates, and we give them the seal, and then we give them directions on how to put it on their diploma or on their certificate. And so every kid gets their own personal package.
So
Great.
can we, I'm actually asking this because I'm not sure. Khalil had asked which seal we put on the diploma. So ours goes on there, but then they can also put the other. So they could potentially have two seals on their diploma.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Great.
Hi, everyone. I do have a question. How do we apply? So if a student passes the assessment, what is the process?
I can help you with that one. So on our seal of Biliteracy, I'm gonna get out of the PowerPoint for a quick second. So if you just Google seal of Biliteracy Michigan. Would somebody let that person, thank you. Right here is our, that's a PDF. Right here. Nope. That's mission. That's yeah. Okay, well, this takes us right to the actual. Well, this is weird. This is never. I don't know what the services and flexible learning is, but I think this is our website. Isn't this interesting?
Yeah, they updated the website like yesterday, it seems like.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
I don't
noticed.
even know what's going on in my own website.
Yeah.
They knew Kelly is going to log in.
and it's
Yeah.
interesting because I used it, yesterday I went on to get my site information, and then in order to access the site, I had to link it with my third-party login.
Oh, really?
Yes, I'm wondering if we have to do that with this now, because everything's running through that my third-party login
Oh
now.
my God, this is crazy.
I hope not. So what you're supposed to be able to do is go to this website and go to the apply now, click on it. It should take you here. And then if you have a MEIS account, like if you're a teacher and you have your MOEX or your MEIS account, you would use that login. And so I'll use mine here and I'll just show you. Really quickly, log in. Help if I typed it correctly. I want that like Face ID. So then you come here, and if you've ever had submissions in the past, they show up. But to apply, I don't know. Yeah, you just go right here to apply. You click on it, and then. Oh, no, you don't. You go right here. Create a new seal of Biliteracy, which is kind of weird that it's like nested in this because it's hard to see. If you have a whole bunch of them, you can do a mass seal upload. So those are both options. But when you click create, if you just have 1 or 2 or 5 or whatever, you'll say like what type of a submission. So this is a public school, let's say, and then you'll pick your district. And one of the things that that I have noticed from a few school districts is they're missing the building name. So you pick from the drop down. Let's just say we're from Zealand. Let's say we're Zealand because they're at the bottom of the list. And then make sure you pick your building name, because this is how the address we use to send you your gold foil seals. And for some reason, there's no like asterisk here to say like mandatory. Wow. I promise it shouldn't take this long, but My computer's tired. Anyway, you'll pick your building from this list. Yeah. And then right here, make sure the way you type the name, it's completely correct. And use only English characters, like no accents or anything like that, or, you know, like Agnes or anything, because it'll come out really strange when it processes, it'll be unintelligible. So only English characters here, type it exactly correct because that is what is used to print. And then the other thing that a lot of people miss is the evidence of English proficiency. Make sure you click this, met graduation requirements. And then of course you do the language assessment information, and then you just go down here and submit. So that is how you have to do this. I certify on all of these assurances, and then you submit. But that's how you apply. Okay.
Thank you so much. That's very helpful.
Yep. It's not very hard. It just, takes a minute.
And can you please add the link to the resources? If you can email us, that would be great.
We'll drop it in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay. Anything else for Laura and Kim? Thank you both for joining us.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'll get started.
Go ahead, Lynette. Thank
All
you.
right. I'm Lynette Brander. I'm the English Learner Coordinator for Holland Public Schools. And we have been awarding the Seal of Bioliteracy since 2019. And so that first year we were able to recognize our awardees at our honors convocation. Since COVID, that celebration has been on hold, and I'm waiting to hear if that will come back or if that's just something that goes by the wayside as districts move and change over time. But on the graduation program, there are little symbols, excuse me, next to the students' names that recognize whether they were honor students or foreign exchange students. And so we've been able to add that little symbol to designate that they are a Seal of Biliteracy recipient. And so all of the symbols are red, and then the little code or key is at the bottom of the program. And so anybody who attends graduation is able to recognize that. We have a way to include the Seal of Biliteracy into our SIS. And so when a transcript is printed out, then just a little statement will appear appear on that. So whether they're getting a transcript now or they come back in a couple of years, we want to make sure that that's documented over time as well, so that seal follows them. They are also given. We also print out the certificates and affix the seal to that. And we had passed that out at honors convocation, but we since 2020 have just, I believe, mailed that home. And then this year, I'm hoping to get some recognition at our Board of Education meeting, so that the former recipients, anybody who is still around, I'll reach out to them to be recognized. But then that's something that I want to instate each year as graduates, just like we do for art awards or other awards. I would like for them to be recognized at that meeting as well.
Okay, I think we had a few questions pop up in the chat, and we've been trying to field them as they're coming in. One of them was pretty much kind of how late can a student test? We ask that the students test early. They can test as early as the second semester of their junior year, but you can continue to assess them all the way up and through the summer, because we know like the AP assessment results don't come back until much later in the summer sometimes for students. So you can apply even through June, July, and August for students. And the applications are approved within 24 hours. And then we try to send out the gold foil seals within 2 weeks of that. So we want to encourage folks to think ahead and plan ahead and get things in as early as possible. But in the case where you have a student that really wants to try, we can continue supporting them up until, you know, the summer, through the summer. I like that idea of sending them to the Board of Ed, having them recognized there. That's a great idea. I hadn't heard that one before.
So Kelly, there was a related question about retesting, and according to the policy, there's no limit on retests.
Correct.
And then I see that Melissa also wanted to know about what to add to the transcript. And Kelly says there's language in the policy document, but maybe if it's the technical part of it, like how do you do that? Maybe Lynette would be willing to share her contact for her experience on that one.
Well, I didn't figure it out, and somebody else who pulls together those transcripts will probably be able to answer it a little bit better than I am. But we use Infinite Campus, and so there's a place where I can designate assessments, and so within that we've created a field that says Michigan Bioliteracy Seal Awardee, the language, and then we can put a date. And then on the transcript portion, there is a way that we can run a report and where it says transcript Bioliteracy seal information. And then, so our registrar includes that statement from that policy manual. And then so that when it's printed, I believe, yeah, it prints right on that transcript. And it just, I'm pulling one up now and it says standard tests, Michigan Bioliteracy Seal Awardee Spanish English, and then the date that we're awarding them. And I'm trying to put that date like in May because of their senior year, so that we make sure that they meet the graduation requirements in addition to the additional language.
I think that's like a key point to make sure, like you can apply for the students early, but you won't give them the seal. They won't be an awardee until they're for sure going to graduate. So to Lynette's point about kind of holding out and saying we awarded it on this date, you know, the May of that graduating year makes really good sense. That's a good point. Thanks for sharing that.
Thanks. And I appreciate the flexibility with everything COVID. I did last year have a student come back she'd graduated in 2020 and she took the assessment in 2021. And so we were able to grant her the seal as well.
That's exciting. That's good. So what should students do to earn the seal? Students should demonstrate sufficient English proficiency to meet the graduation requirements. And then they should either by transcript, so if they've been educated outside of the United States in their native language, they should show that they were in school in their home country until 6th grade. That would be sufficient to help them get the seal. Or they should take an approved commercial assessment to demonstrate their proficiency level in the non-English language. And then if they get intermediate high or the equivalent of intermediate high in all the domains on that assessment, then they would meet the requirements for the seal. Just answering a question in the chat. Other questions for Lynette on things that she does at her school, or questions on things you heard?
I have a question, Kelly, for actually our three presenters today. Does your district limit the number of times a student can test? I know it probably depends on who is actually paying for the assessment, right? But I didn't know if there's any policy within your districts as to how many times a student may test?
That's a really great question. For our district, we haven't had to set that. We have said that a student could repeat, like if they take it in their junior year and don't make it in one of the domains or a couple of domains, they can repeat in their senior year. And our district does pay for the assessment. We wanted to make sure that that was not an obstacle for families. If they choose a different assessment, like say the AP test, parents usually pay for that anyway, or it's waived through, I think free and reduced lunch gets a waiver. But no, we haven't had the need to really limit it.
Oh, that's great.
Kim?
We're the same as what Lynette said. So most of our kids try to take it as a junior, so that if they don't meet the criteria, then they have their senior year to kind of make up for it. So ours is the same, but our kids do pay. They pay the $20 that Apple charges us, or for the WPT OPI test, they do pay the $50, because that's how much they charge us as well.
Rhea, what about you guys?
So for I feel like I'm walking between two worlds, because I'm former like EL teacher, but now I'm a specialist in a different district. So kind of navigating between, but for one of our schools, they only use the AP test right now. And then for my other schools, we're currently working on bringing the seal for the first time this year. So as of right now, we haven't set a limit. And in my former position, we didn't limit either. It was just as much as time allowed for, because we just wanted kids to get every opportunity they could. And so what's really nice about the Stamp 4F test is some of our kids who took like the Spanish test, maybe they didn't score high enough on the speaking, so they would pay $5, reopen that speaking portion, and then they only had to take that domain that they didn't score high enough in. And we had some students after, a couple kids did 2 attempts, God bless them, but then they were able to score high enough that next time to qualify. So, but no, we didn't cap a limit.
Great.
Can I jump in quickly on that STAMP reassessment policy? STAMP changed their reassessment policy this July. You can still retest within the same test year, but you may only retest in one section. And you only qualify to retest if you are 1 score below what you need to earn either the test out credit or the seal of Biliteracy. So the students who have never tested before will still see that as an advantage, that they can pay $10 and only retake the one section that they need. But students who have tested before, there is a change in the amount of money they pay. It's $10 instead of $5, and on the limit of the number of sections they can retest.
Thanks for that new information. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's helpful.
And then someone had asked, where is the language for the transcript? So I put in the chat, it's on page 14 of the seal of Biliteracy policy in the link. I did not know that it was on page 14. I searched for it, but now you know it's on page 14.
Jennifer has like a magic ability to find stuff and get it in the chat just in time. It's like a superpower of hers. All right. Thank you, Lynette, very much. Thanks for sharing. We'll go to Rhea.
All right. So like I said in my former role as an EL teacher and EL coordinator, we awarded students and celebrated them during our senior award ceremony. We called recipients up, and it was so fantastic to have their families come, because that's often the first time their students been recognized for something. So it was just great to build also like that family piece too, of inviting the families. We had students wear white cords, and it's just because like that color was available. But then there's also, I'm going to butcher this name, so help me out here, but a serape stole. Okay, I don't know if that's right, but it's culturally appropriate. And you order it off of Amazon, and they customize it based on like the culture of the student. So it's really cool that they can wear that. And then they're also recognized in the graduation program, like it says seal of Biliteracy, and then it has the names of the students. And it's just such a great way of, to celebrate their heritage. So those were some ways that we did it. And then if you look in the picture, the two students I'm standing with, Kelly, you had asked how do we use the certificates? We had put them in like official looking like certificate holders that they, could take with them and probably display. And I love, Lynette, that you shared about the transcripts. I had never considered that. So I'm definitely going to be looking into that. So those are a couple ways that we've celebrated students with the seal. And then obviously like putting the gold foil on their diploma adds like an extra, little piece of incentive for them too.
So now I'm intrigued. I need to know where those stoles come from. Like, where do you order them from?
Good old Amazon.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
Yeah, my school's just like Google the stole, pick their like cultural piece that they want and then order it. So, and the kids really like it.
So are they based on like the colors of the flag, or just is that how
That's my
they're?
understanding is the colors of the flag. I mean, there's obviously some other colors in there, but they try to make, my understanding is the primary colors of their flag.
That's pretty cool.
Is the sarape stole just for the speakers of Spanish? Is there something similar for other languages?
So we predominantly have Spanish speakers, so I can't say that I've had to explore for many other languages. I would assume that there are.
Okay.
But I can't say for sure.
Love it. Questions for Rhea? I really love just having you all come and share about what you're doing. It helps so much to understand kind of, just what the different ideas are. And even if some of the ideas are very similar, there are always nuances and differences that we can pick up from and learn and make it, better for our kids. So you found one for Iraq? Awesome. Put it in the chat. Do you have a link with you right there? I just love to see it. Yeah, that would be really cool. Okay, let's keep going. So we're running a little early, but we thought that you might want to just like take some time to chat together about, what you're doing in your district. What if you're just brand new, you might want to talk to some other people about things that they're doing. And so we'll just take like maybe 10 minutes. We'll break out into some smaller size breakout rooms and just have a little bit of time to chat. And then we'll come back and end early and enjoy our day. Okay, I'll go ahead and send us all out to a quick 10-minute breakout room. Okay, I think everybody's back. Let's see. Time's up. Okay, what did we think about the breakout rooms? Did you have any questions that came out of it? I didn't see any on the document, but I just wanted to give an opportunity for folks to ask anything or say anything.
Well, I know our group didn't type anything in the document because we were too busy talking and we got yanked out of the breakout room. But our group too was a pretty good mix of people who are implementing and just starting to implement, and some who are really getting excited about celebrating. So I think the time was just really nice to hear each other's stories and ask each other questions.
Great. Anyone else? All right.
There was one issue at the end of our conversation. We had really good conversation. One issue that came out, and that is how to have more than one person in the district responsible for the seal. So in case that person moves out, the whole process is not to be systematic about it and not dependent on one person.
And in our policy document, that's one thing that we recommend is like, there's like maybe a counselor and a language, a world language teacher and a principal or something, kind of make up a little small team, depending on the size of the school, but so that exactly that, like if one of them goes, the whole program doesn't go out the door with them, so that's a good point. And I think also having the counselor involved intimately in the process is so helpful because they see all of the transcripts and all of the students and things like that, so they can help us recruit as well. Other thoughts on team situations that you've used in your districts that have been helpful?
I don't know if Tina is still on the call. I saw her jump on before, but I went to a workshop at Oakland Schools with Irma, and Tina was there with her assessment coordinator, and I was there by myself. And she said, you need to bring your assessment people to these meetings. And that same sentiment that it takes a team to identify as many kids as possible. Melissa in our breakout room was talking about how she, as the ELD teacher, was identifying kids who were in the program, but she was checking with previous ELD teachers who new kids who had exited, and counselors, like Kelly said, and language teachers, because they offer Spanish. Just as many teachers as you can at least run by and say, who would qualify for this? Who do you know? Is helpful, especially in the beginning. Once you get some recipients and you celebrate them, then the word of mouth really helps too. Like kids and families talk to each other, and more people are interested in the seal because they know what it is.
Tina, do you want to share a little bit about your awesome partnership?
Sure. So we have, and I shared in my breakout room, so I am our EL coordinator, and then Teresa Callahan actually serves on the SEAL Biliteracy committee. I don't know if she recruited herself or if I recruited her, but I remember asking Kelly if she wanted an assessment person on it. So she really coordinates all of our assessments. And then actually the third person who's really instrumental is our student accounting person, because they're the one who puts it on the diploma. They validate and verify that kids have graduated, or if there were any August grads. Sometimes that's something that happens. And they're the ones that create the transcripts. And so she actually is the one who will do our applications for us, because she's, used to doing, she does the count day and the MSES and the CEPI and things like that. So the three of us kind of own it, but then we have it as a long-standing agenda item for counselors. And so at the counselor meetings, they have one tomorrow. It just says a reminder to be pulling those students and to reach out to me. And then I will do, I think it was in the chat, I will pull all of our seniors, and I'll actually be doing that very shortly. I feel like things are always a little bit off this year because I just came back from a leave. So I'll be pulling the seniors, getting them on people's radar, having them look to make sure they're on track to graduate and to make sure they have things marked appropriately. So I pull students who have a language that were born outside of the US, and that kind of gives me a starting point. And then we look to make sure we have their transcripts. Does it follow the seal? And then we coordinate it with our testing so that with our middle school counselors, they're pulling that same group of students to make sure they're not scheduling them automatically, to take a world language class when they could have been getting the credit and, working through that. So this is our 4th or 5th year that we're really trying to clean up that process. So we still have work to do, but it's becoming, people are naturally asking questions now, which is really great. And it's just a nice reminder, especially after just a couple of crazy years we've had, to have a process in place. Not where we want to be, but I think we got the right people involved, which is good. And then I just shared that our 2 main languages are still not something that's immediately easy to offer. And if we could get to those, we'd probably have, we'd be blowing up the database, I feel like. So I'm hopeful that in the next, near future, we can start working on those. But
are you aware of any progress on Chaldean at all for assessment?
So I shared with our team, we've met with Avant Stamp a few different times and kind of understood the process and the cost involved, and having, needing to know a key group of professionals who have high levels of proficiency in that language to be the, the question, reliability and validity pieces. I think the problem is that there's all these languages that are in cultural groups out there that are advocating for themselves, and we stand in this pocket alone. I will say I have really great connections to that community, and I would say that they would jump on board if they knew it was something they would work on. But I haven't gotten to the point yet where I feel like we're such a unique pocket in this area that I know, there's a lot of other languages that are out there that they might have a higher number for, but they do want to see the numbers, right? So we plan on revisiting with them again, in the near future to see where we
Okay.
stand with that. Our other one is Bengali, Bangla. We haven't found a assessment yet that meets that need, and that's our next largest population. We did meet again, we brought that up. It sounded like it was kind of in the works for potentially, I want to say world speak, but I can't speak to it because I will tell you you can hear I'm battling some new baby germs that are happening in our house, but that's our next one. So if there's anyone in the group that has a good solution, I know last year with like the OPI, there was some kind of roundabout ways about it, but our timing didn't work out well, and we weren't already an Apple customer, if that makes sense. So I know like some people it was a really easy transition, but we weren't there yet. And just like we have 3 people involved, you also have to have someone who has the funding involved. So, and who, coordinates those things. So we're working on it, but I will take any and all, solutions that people might have for that group of kids too. So.
Out of curiosity, is there a high Chaldean population in Dearborn as well?
No.
Okay.
But there is, Chris, for your information, Christine, you might want to talk to someone in Farmington as well as West Bloomfield, to get or you have perhaps.
We've partnered. So I haven't gotten to that point yet because it didn't sound like they were ready for that, but I did, because I work directly with the Chaldean Community Foundation. So they would have, their census data and their school connections. And I have reached out to people who are in those other districts that I know have the same need. There are some people I know that are able to, their families do speak Arabic as well and read and write in Arabic, so they can go about it that way. But a lot of our families do not have that because they weren't formally schooled in Iraq or their 3rd generation or whatever it might be. So I think the Southeast, the Tri-County area, we have a large enough number, I think, to make a case, but I feel like there's a lot of other languages out there too. So it's just getting the right timing with the companies is huge. But yeah, if there's ever an opportunity that we can join forces and they coordinate with the committee here, would love to do it. Love to advocate for that group. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. I wanted to pull this out. This is was added to the chat earlier, and this will be going out to the larger membership on Friday with the recording to this webinar. But just in case you're new or you don't know a lot about the assessments, the Apple and the Stamp 4S are the Avant Stamp 4S. So Apple and Avant are 2 of the largest companies that a lot of districts use. And I wanted to show you that there's this piece on the newsletter that Khalil and many others on the council had worked on putting this together, Jennifer also, about how the seal can be funded. And so just a reminder that Title IV funds under the well-rounded provision can be used if, that's something that your district can do. It's probably not this year if you haven't done it already, because applications are due in like 30 seconds, for that. But if you have, that ability to start thinking for next year, these are just some ideas that our group came up with on ways that you could try to fund the seal.
And also up there, you have the alternate process, and I know that that takes time and money as well. But Dr. Angela Sherman spoke with us at our last webinar about how they have developed and used the alternate process for multiple languages in Detroit. And her email and contact information is also in the note catcher if that's something that you're interested in exploring at any time. I was very impressed hearing from her, and she would be a great resource.
And we have Fatima with us, who is the new, are you the Director of World Languages, or what's your title?
Hi, everyone. I came in late and my link didn't work. So I'm the new program supervisor. And yes, I've been working with Dr. Sherman, closely with Dr. Sherman. And the Detroit Public Schools, they do have an alternative testing process already in place. And we're working on even making it more reliable, making ensuring reliability and greater reliability. By the way, that's one of the projects that we're going to start in next year. And to answer Christina's question, about Bengali, by the way, Bangla, if you're interested, earlier today, I scheduled a test to test 3 students for Bangla, and we're using what is called this one name. It's ADFL, OPI, and WPI for seal of Biliteracy. It's all one name. And so we're going to have 3 students testing. I'm hoping in about three weeks. We schedule the tests, for 3 weeks, and that's for Bengali. For Bangla, they also include Swahili and other less commonly assessed languages. And just to help you, if that helps out, if you would like to connect with me, let me know. I'll let you know how it goes too. We're looking forward to this, to testing the students. They're going to be our first ones. Yes.
So it's going to be it's an OPI and WPT combo.
Yes.
There's a link to the languages offered in that combo also on the note catcher.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be great. I would love to be connected with that and hear how it goes, because we did meet with them. I can't remember if it was last year or during the shutdown. It was one of those, it was more logistics because we weren't already an Apple subscriber at the time. But yeah, we're definitely would be interested in it for sure.
Let me know, email.
Yes.
Here's what Jennifer was referencing, the Swahili, the OPI WPT bundle, and there's 22 languages listed there. And this is the link for that. So that's found in the notes. These are all, many of these links are links from last year or things that we've kind of added for this one. But we're just kind of keeping them all together because they're pertinent year over year in some of the instances. Okay, I think unless there are other questions or concerns, we will go ahead and adjourn. And thank you all for your time this afternoon session. Always wonderful to see everybody and talk about the seal.
Following slide has the list of dates for next year. If you want to.
Oh, yes.
Calendar.
That's right. I already